in the recording can shut down his video, but otherwise we will also record this and also use the recording to share it with the wider community. And that's the background to it. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining, and over to Dietmar.
Okay, thank you very much, Oliver, and welcome to our book launch event. And before we start, I want to share a LinkedIn post I have seen today. It is from Simon Knopp, and he said, "Innovation is a struggle. Everyone wants to innovate. Everyone needs to innovate. Everyone has innovation written on the wall, but most of us struggle." The good news, it doesn't have to be that way, because we have a new book out there. It's about innovation. It's about how you can create really good ideas in a very short time. And it's a real cool, I don't know if we should call it framework or method or methodology or something like that, but it's really cool. And I'm happy to introduce you Oliver, Benjamin, and Michael, who will now talk about the Purpose Launchpad, the framework behind the workshop format, and the innovation design workshop itself. Then I hand over to
Michael Friebe.
Right. Yeah, I have the role. I'm just going to share my slide, but I have the role to talk about not only the need for innovation, but the skills that are necessary for innovate. And I can just follow up what you just said, Dietmar. That was, or where you commented and quoted from Simon. Innovation is something that is used for just about anything, right? We are innovative. This is an innovative car. Oh, wow, you are quite innovative. But what is the real definition of that? And this is one of the questions I ask my students and also my startups all the time. And what typically comes out is something novel, something new, something different, but very little they say about the fact that it needs to be commercialized. So it needs to be something that people are interested in, that are willing to actually, put their hands in the pocket and go out and pay for it. And paying doesn't necessarily always mean exclusively that you have to come up with money, but maybe with an exchange. So I give you something, you get something back, or I have a social innovation which creates maybe a new way of drilling a hole in the Sahara sands and get water out of it. That really benefits a lot of people. So there's also some form of commercialization part of it. And let me just share my screen. So I hope you will see it right now. Is that the case?
Yep.
All right. So it's quite a bit of slides, but I'll go through it quickly, so don't worry about it. It should be taken not more significantly more than 10 minutes. But I do believe that the universities have a problem, and I'm speaking right now here as a university professor and as somebody who teaches innovation. But I'm really, as most of you know, I'm an engineer, so I'm not a trained economist or anything. I'm somebody who tries to actually create some new stuff. And again, for me, the innovation definition was very important because I have a lot of inventions, but if invention never makes it to a customer, is never translated, then it is really not an innovation. It's just merely an invention. So we need to find that commercial aspect to it. And most of the time, coming again from an engineering science perspective, most of the time we engineers develop something without really understanding the problem, without really understanding what problem we're solving, and without understanding whether there's a real need for what we're doing. We'd love to build things, right? So build, we have to have something in our hands. We like to look at our screen, all the cool things we did, but we don't necessarily ask about the problem statement behind it. And that's what we have to really learn. And that's what I'm trying to get my students to do, is to dive deeply into the problem space before they start building. Not an easy thing to do, and sometimes I'm a little lax on this one. I let them build something, and then we still go out and check later on. But it's sometimes very interesting to see the faces on these students when they find out that their innovation is really not that impactful after all. I'm starting with this one here because I think we need to change also our perspective with respect to what is really important and what we should value as innovators ourselves. And I think this is self-explanatory. I don't have to say anything about this picture. And I think we're really at a point right now where we need to rethink on whether that complete profit-driven approach, we need to make the most profit, and profit is the most important thing, and everything we have to look for is profit, is really the right way to go forward. Obviously, I'm of the opinion it's not the right way forward, otherwise I wouldn't put it on there. But I think we need to also convince quite a bit of other people, because if we don't change the economy, we will not change the way people think about innovation. It will not change the way of how actually people think about doing good things or creating novel stuff. So this is something that I stole obviously from Francisco Palau. I hope he's coming. So he was actually supposed to be part of this meeting today. So he's the developer of that Purpose Launchpad methodology that Oliver and some others, myself, have helped to actually improve or maybe advance. And one of the important things is that he basically says we have these 5P approach. I have a 5P approach too. I'll come to that later. But the 5P approach is we start from a purpose. We need to actually make sure that we are not destroying the planet, that we are actually doing something that helps the people. Obviously, we need to have a profit in there, but the profit is, you see that here, is not the top, is not the most important thing. And obviously, to get that profit, we need to have a product or a workflow or a process or something that actually creates a value. So if we don't have that interrelation between the purpose, a sustainable model behind it that really doesn't neither kills the planet nor creates disadvantages for people, then we will not be successful in the future. So I really do believe that the future of innovation needs to be kind of like rethought, redefined, and relearned. And universities do have a very, very important role in that. And particularly also economic schools, business schools. The business part is important. Remember that profit part, we need to make that. Otherwise, we cannot create a sustainable business and we cannot extract value out of a product. But on the other hand, I unfortunately have to say that universities and the ones that I work for, they're not on the level 4.0. You all know the industry 4.0, the process of actually, creating, of using intelligence, artificial intelligence and information for creating value. We are not at that point at the university. We're pretty much at a level 2.5 maybe. So it's about 30, 40 years behind the real developments. And we need to introduce exponential thinking and mindsets into our training process. Sorry, let me just go back one time. I copied this. Is actually a fairly recent paper that was presented by the European Commission. You can't probably read that at the bottom, but I'll read it for you. Sustainability and people's well-being at the heart of Europe's open strategic autonomy. And it's the 2023 Strategic Foresight Report of the European Commission. And there's a very interesting chart that I found in this one. And if you start from the left and the right, and you see the issues that we have on maybe some of the funding side, some of the geopolitical sides, we also have the issues that we need to have future skills, much more dominantly educated and much more prominently educated, and we need to then use those to actually get to a net zero and a planet sustainability business. So that needs to all be part of what we need to use and what we need to employ and what we need to use as innovation skills. Another chart that I thought was quite fitting to that discussion here is that we need to get our students to actually have the courage to innovate. I mean, talking about this is one thing, it's quite easy to do that, but actually starting them off and getting them to move beyond the point of just thinking about innovation is very important. So challenging the status quo is important. It's very easy to just look at existing things and make things a little better, these incremental innovations, but it's a lot higher risk to think about disruption, to think about actually challenging the status quo. And for that, we need to have, teach and educate significantly more about behavioral skills. So to question existing situations, to look how things are being done right now, what the future could be look like, to kind of like put them in a context of a much bigger scale, to network, and to start embracing experimentation. Very, very important things, which we don't necessarily do. So all these things together with cognitive skills are the basis for innovative business ideas and for entrepreneurship. So another chart, you may have seen this here before, the hard skills and the soft skills. And I don't want to go into detail on this one, but what I'm asking myself as a university representative is the question on which of these are we actually teaching? And they're kind of like equally important, maybe even the soft skills being more important. And in all honesty, the only thing that I can find is that we actually do only the hard skills at the university, very little on the soft skills. Maybe we do some collaborative work, so a little bit we force people to work in teams. We may actually look at some problem-solving skills, but not on a challenge level, more on a technical level, on a level that is associated with a hard skill. And all the other things we really don't embrace and we don't stimulate. And I think that's what we really have to get it. I'm not saying that the hard skills are not important. I'm just saying the hard skills don't help you if you don't have the appropriate soft skills with it. And only the combination of those two will actually help you create innovations. Another thing that is interesting to see, this is also stolen from the United Nations chart, is talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, how they are being presented in the present and in the future, and what we have to do to actually get them into the future. And we have this big issue that the opportunities, the business opportunities and risks are not really in the present business models. They are basically to embrace and to work on these Sustainable Development Goals. We need to have also business models that kind of like stimulate development. And there is a big contribution gap at the moment, and so we really need to work on defining the future with these SDGs, and then at the same time moving towards a disruption and towards a new business model. And for that, we need to maybe put into our universities a different type of approach. We need to maybe start using challenge-based teaching approaches. We need to actually hello, whoever came.
Francisco's trying.
Oh, Francisco, you're missing my presentation, but all good. And so we need to really, use innovation as being a core part of from the beginning onwards in the education process, not just do one little presentation and then say that's about it. And we need to actually probably move the university to become an innovation university, an innovation place, rather than a place where you only need to teach the hard skills. And I firmly believe, as also a serial entrepreneur, I believe that entrepreneurial skills are quite important as part of this university teaching, this soft skill teaching, where you combine the hard skills you learn together with entrepreneurial skills and knowing how to actually, what kind of people to employ to get the things off the ground, have a proper strategy with a future outlook in place, know of how to execute actually this operation and how to put things together, and obviously know a little bit about the cash and the finance part of it. So you all know this. It's nothing new, but I still mention it anyway. We need to find in innovation in the future this innovation sweet spot. So we need to combine the desirability. So is a product or workflow or process actually wanted? Viable? Is it actually something where there is a business model behind it? Again, remember, Francisco, I mentioned the 5 Ps, with the profit on there. So is it profitable? And also, is it feasible? Can it actually be done? And is it something that combines all these 3 elements in that what we call innovation sweet spot? And to start with that is we need to actually start from the problem space and not, as I mentioned before, from the solution space. So, oh, sorry, I was a little too fast on this one here. And all of this needs to be embedded in the context of purpose and in the context of thinking about the planet, and not only, again, thinking about the profit. So there's tons of these innovation methods on there. I use a lot of them, and I will go through some of them very, very quickly right now. But at the end of the day, it really is what I put down at the bottom. It's identify, ideate, and around an unmet need. And I'm coming from the healthcare space, so about an unmet health need, but that is actually an unmet need for anything. You can't just supplement health with anything else. And we need to, or at least that should be a motivation, intentionally be disruptive. And before we can actually think about something implementing. So I use, value proposition canvases and exponential canvas, and the blue ocean strategy, business model canvas, design thinking, bio design, then also extracting elevator pitches. But I think the only thing that really combines all these things, if you talk to Alexander Osterwald and say, what is the best tool to use for innovation? He will use one of his tools. If you think about, or if you ask Steve Blank, then he will talk about lean entrepreneurship. But there is a method which really includes, framework, which includes all these elements. And Oliver will talk a little more about the Launchpad framework on that one, how it actually puts together. But that was also base of that innovation design challenge box that we used, and is part of the teaching that I use in my setup. So combining these things, you see very clearly that if you actually use desirability and you use this Purpose Launchpad framework, you have a customer segment there, you have a feasibility, you have the product segment, and you have the viability, represented by the viability and abundance segments. So all of these things are embedded into this new framework, together with a purpose and together with the process management tools. And I'm getting to the end about kind of like what I believe is so cool about this methodology and why we actually decided to put that into a book. But the purpose needs to be in the forefront. It needs to be significantly more valued than the problem, and also more valued than the solution. And I think we believe we need to have an exponential mindset and future foresight, and universities are incredibly important to actually get this across. I think it's very difficult at the moment to find this in all kinds of courses outside some form of entity that also is able and capable of teaching you some of the hard skills and combining them. So I think that the universities need to adjust to these new times, and I'm not sure how easy that will be. So I do actually have a purpose myself, so I wanted to show you that too. So I'm not just talking about it, I'm actually having that myself, and I think it's important to actually be somebody who shows that you're really following that process yourself. And for the future of health, for my topic that is dear to my heart, there's also a 5P model that starts with prediction. So we need to predict health, we need to prevent, we need to personalize it, we need to make sure that everybody participates, and hopefully with the result to have a prolonged health, but also with a purpose for people and planet. So I believe that also needs to be embedded in that. So I use this 5P model as well for the healthcare approach. So the startup, when you look at that, and that's what I'm trying to get done out of my teaching, is that they need to start focusing on the problem. They need to, iterate very early on. Maybe we can actually use that as some form of exploration phase. We need to validate the customer. We need to go back and forth, and we need to subsequently start to implement. And all of this is represented in this Purpose Launchpad that Oliver will talk about a little bit more in detail. So lots of ideas we need to generate. If we don't have these ideas in place, sorry, I was a little too fast here. If we don't have this in place, we'll not be able to go back. And that's also one of the things that we need to, get across to our students. Don't focus on the first idea you have, but collect all of those to maybe have to go back at some point in time and check other ones. And most important is actually get started. Don't have just a vision, but actually make sure that you actually get off the ground and get started. And all of this, and this is very important to a university, to my university, for example, is not that we only focus on entrepreneurship, but it's also equally important to have a framework like that, and to use maybe that framework for innovations and set up improvements that are within a company, within an organization. That is also something that we can basically equally show with this setup here. So I'm trying now to do a lecture, and the lecture will basically within one semester teach people of how to do customer evaluation, how to come up with a purpose, how to come up with a prototype, do some radars, do some business model canvas, a team canvas, a one pager, etc., etc. This is all you can do in a very quick setup and in a very quick lecture, and that's also something I hope that the exponential ecosystem with Oliver and Gerard will pick up and maybe be able to promote. But I think these are the kind of things that we can do using this type of framework approach that we present here. So finally, just want to mention, build a painkiller for a burning problem is something that I really would like you to remember. That's the only thing that's really important at the moment for this talk. If you don't do that, then you will not be very successful with your approach. So having said that, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you have some questions later on, and hope I was a little long. I guess I'm always a little longer than I say, but I think it's still acceptable, I hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael, for your presentation and your thoughts about the 21st century skills the students should learn at a university. Very, very interesting. And in your presentation, you talked about the Purpose Launchpad, and I think most of you will know the framework, especially Francisco, who is one of the inventors. Hello, Francisco. Oliver will now show you an overview, and also I think how we use it in the Innovation Design Challenge.
I thought Benjamin was first, but
Benjamin, do you want to go now or when?
Yes, it would be fine. Would be fine. Yeah, definitely. Because I'm the economist here and I'm the counterpart to Michael. So my focus is also on efficiency and timing and so on, and on numbers. And I really have to say, when I look at the list of participants, around about 50% of all participants today already attended the Innovation Design Challenge. So maybe if I leave out some things, you can just step in and add. Okay, but let me start here with I just made briefly just a few slides on this, because I think when we call this part How to Innovation Design Challenge, of course the main part of it will be the Purpose Launchpad, which Oliver will talk about. And what I want to say is, today I'm in Western Hungary. I'm in Sopron right now, and I'm holding a course on innovation at the Western Hungarian University in Sopron. And in fact, I taught the Purpose Launchpad, and students are quite excited about it, because they quickly see the practical relevance of this approach. And when Michael and I started like half a year ago, when we first thought about creating the Innovation Design Challenge as a workshop, then the Purpose Launchpad was definitely at the heart of it. And a fun fact about this: first, we wanted to call it a hackathon, yeah, but but the problem was we didn't want it to be misunderstood in terms of, well, these guys only do coding, but it's not about coding. And I think a very important thing is technology not always is the main part. And the Purpose Launchpad, and as an innovation approach, you can call it a method or approach, or a structured approach to innovation, definitely has not technology as the main focus, but technology is definitely a lever, and the whole approach helps you just to solve important problems. So the first thing we have to say is we wanted to have the Innovation Design Challenge as a workshop setting, and this workshop setting should really focus on a problem that needs to be solved. And having said that, I mean, it's like 90% of the other innovation workshop doers will say the same. And we at the very beginning, we ask ourselves, so how can we really make an impact? So how can we really get solutions or ideas that will, of course, in a workshop setting of 1 or 2 days, will not make a final solution, but we'll have some innovative, generate some innovative ideas that can bring us a step further. That was the basic idea. And so what we did was, first we created a landing page and asked ourselves, so what's our massive transformation purpose? What's our mission? What is our vision? And we really put that at the heart of all of our communication. So we have the workshop setting. We talked to the FOM University, which was quite helping and willing to provide rooms for us to conduct the Innovation Design Challenge. But our aim was not only to get students or just get people out of one organization. So we really had to approach people from a very diverse set of backgrounds who have the same mission. And so it was very important for us to define the problem area and a related MTP vision and the mission. And here you see a screenshot from the landing page that we built, and it's just a short, small screenshot from it. And you see also the URL here. So that was very important. So what we wanted to do, the first thing was it was on the future of health, of prevention. So of course it's not an easy topic, right? It's not an easy topic, and we made a big move from SICKET to health with our MTP. So and the next step, of course, was let's talk about the target group. Yeah, we, as already said, we didn't only wanted to focus on students or startups or just some practitioners. So we really created a complete stakeholder map, so to say. Yeah? So we wanted to combine different backgrounds. We wanted to combine people from the corporates, students, practitioners, educational institutions, startups, and also the regional development areas. And we put a lot of brainwork into really understanding what is the target group, what are the stakeholders here. That really helped us, because at a very early stage we started with our communications and gained quite some support from sponsors. Yeah, that was really important. That really helped in that respect. And also in the communication after the design challenge, it was very helpful to have the sponsor here, which was T-System, a great communication network in Germany. Okay, so I just have a few slides, and the next point was we only have one day. Yeah, typically you can make such workshop setting. For example, if your target group is a corporate, you're booked by a corporate like Siemens or General Electric for workshop. You get 2 days. Maybe still it's not enough time, and we had the restriction that was our prototype, and we had to be low cost, so to say, and the FOM University only gave that room for us for a few hours. So we're starting at 3 p.m. We had to leave at 9 p.m. sharp. So we had to really focus on a very short period of time. So we had to put a lot of brainwork into the right preparation of our participants. Yeah. So what we created, we created the landing page with the dedicated USP and the agenda. Michael and I, we were very keen on our social media campaign. We just made short handy videos and Loom videos on our notebooks and explain what we were doing. And we created a quite large workbook. So the workbook was intended to optimally prepare the participants. So participants should show up right at the workshop and be clearly informed what they were doing, because the Purpose Launchpad approach, as you will see in a few minutes, is a combined set of a lot of templates. And if you see that for the first time, it's time consuming to get into these templates. Yeah. So we wanted to prepare people ex ante. So we clearly stated what's our mission, what are we going to do, what's our agenda, what are the templates that we use, what is the algorithm for creating or for getting together the individual groups. Yeah. So the group allocations. So we also recommended the people to do a so-called BOSLey assessment in advance to have an assessment on the founder's personality, so to say, and that really helped the people to get together in groups quite quickly, so we could combine different personality types here. And what was also very helpful was to make a Q&A session in advance. That also helped people to understand our approach and to inform them about what is going to happen at the Innovation Design Challenge. Because let me just get to the agenda of that particular day, and you see that it was a very tight agenda for such a big topic. And we combined several approaches here. What we did was we had a short welcome reception, and we did some impulses from people with a strong background in healthcare, just to help people to start with their ideas and the topics and the challenges that they actually wanted to tackle. So, and after that, we had an introduction to the method again, and a short work session that activated the people. And so we could start with the working sessions quite quickly. And as you see here from the agenda, we could spend quite some time, like around about 3 hours, just in working sessions. And yeah, we have to say it was the results that we get, the prototypes that we get, the ideas that we developed. We were very happy. In fact, that this was only a prototype. It was the first innovation design challenge that we created. And you can create a lot of text, and I think our work is also important. And let me just show you one of my favorite parts, which we briefed here in this workshop setting. We also hired an artist from Hamburg, and she came over from Hamburg, and she was with us for the whole day. And we had 6 groups creating innovation initiatives here based on the Purpose Launchpad. And she worked with the groups and asked questions, took a lot of notes, and that's the artistic result of the of her perception of the different groups results. And we see of course it's a quite interesting picture with a large depth of detail. And we see different results here. You see Marilyn Monroe on the stepper doing some exercise, and on the other hand, you see Audrey Hepburn, and they're in a challenge. Yeah, they're in a challenge. You see the Mona Lisa scan app, which is obviously scanning their individual health. And there's a huge level of detail, and I see Gerard and Tiana also here. So their idea, Tree Code X, is also involved here. You see Steve Jobs pointing at data. So the big companies, they have to let go of their ownership of our data. We have now personalized, or people have personal ownership on the data. So there's a lot of depth, and I could talk for this 4 hours, but closing my talk now with this nice picture here, I hope that gave you some idea of how to organize such a workshop, because another important thing is it's a lot of operational burden. Yeah, so you have to do all the preparation of the rooms, of the participants, which you typically also have for other types of workshop. But what was at the heart of this talk was showing what's the difference between an innovation design challenge and the classical workshop setting. And maybe some questions right after my talk or later on.
Good.
Thank you
very much. Thank you very much, Benjamin. Dietmar, I'm just taking over from Benjamin. The good thing about the book that is published and which is introduced here is there is all kinds of checklists in there. So it's really like a cookbook which you can use to do your own innovation design challenge. I'm going to share now, like the question is, design challenge is over, but what's the next? And I'm going to briefly share a bit about Purpose Launchpad. It has been announced. Just need to find the right one here and start the presentation. It's very hot where I'm living right now. That may be the cause for a bit of slowdown of my computer. Can you already see something?
All good, Oliver.
All good. Thank you very much. So, design challenge over. What's next? The one point about myself is I'm one of the co-founders of Exponential Ecosystem. I'm a master mentor, as Michael is, for Purpose Launchpad, and I'm also research fellow at the FOM Center for Innovation, Business Development, and Entrepreneurship. Looking at what we always do, we, meaning Michael, Benjamin, myself, Exponential Ecosystem, Francisco, all people involved in Purpose Launchpad, is looking at 3 phases to evolve innovations, which are exploration, evaluation, and impact. And the first phase, explore, is exploring what is the problem, as Michael said, like understand the problem or the problems first, finding out whether they're worth solving, and then also find what are the addressable customers and potential solutions. You're formulating a lot of assumptions in this phase, which you're going to evaluate in the next phase. And evaluating exactly those assumptions and hypotheses that were initially formulated is the goal of the evaluation phase, to say, finally, if we know about what we're going to do and how that will be feasible, desirable, and viable, then we can enter the impact phase. And that is what it's all about. It's not innovation theater. It's not like doing a lot of things and nothing happens. It's really about making an impact on the world. Impact phase means really building and optimizing a viable and scalable organization. Unfortunately, or fortunately, this is not a linear development, but it's rather an iterative development. So when you enter the next phase, you always have to keep in your mind what is happening also in the exploration phase, and just have an open mind and open eyes, open ears to what's happening around you, because you may have to go back to exploration because you find out, well, the customer segment I thought about was a viable one. It's not, and we need to pivot and switch to another one. So that's the basic approach. What we used for the Innovation Design Challenge end of February was a three-step approach, which mainly focuses on this exploration phase. So the first part we did is understanding the problem to be solved. And there were a couple of things that we formulated in advance as guiding questions. And you will find those also in the book. And in the first and second session, which again were more or less iterative, explore the solution or the solution approaches. And this was really the very first and initial round through the innovation, through the Purpose Launchpad. And the last session was about preparing the group video, result video, which was a short summary of like 3 to 5 minutes, presenting to the other teams what was the idea and how that could be implemented. Again, as we are in the exploration phase, these were merely assumptions, but at least validated whether the problem would find any customer segment that might be even paying for that type of solution. The framework that we used was invented by Francisco Palau. Welcome again, Francisco, on our meeting today. The Purpose Launchpad is an agile framework for analyzing, developing, and monitoring initiatives. It has a 360-degree view based on 8 dimensions, which are purpose, people, customer, abundance, viability, which is now called sustainability, because also Purpose Launchpad is evolving, processes, product, and metrics. Each dimension goes along with a dedicated set of assessment and development tools. I'm not going to dive into these. I'm going to post the link to purposelaunchpad.com in the chat. And what you normally do, applying Purpose Launchpad as an agile framework and also as a guided toolkit, you conduct regular workshops to improve in each dimension. Normally you get guidance by experienced industry experts and certified mentors for Purpose Launchpad. And you're mitigating risk doing this due to a high level of transparency and evolution tracking. If you look at the logo of the Purpose Launchpad framework, the colors indicate exactly what you saw previously in the exploration phase, the yellow part, the light blue one, evaluation and impact, the violet one. For the Innovation Design Challenge, we asked people to start actually with the exploration of the problem, and having guiding questions. First dove into the purpose. What is the broader goal? So it's sort of the first round around these dimensions. The next one would be looking at the people. Who is your team and who can help to achieve your purpose, which is the outer world? Then on the customers, what is the key problem that you want to focus on for this design challenge, and what is relevant customer segments you can identify? Looking at abundance, what out there in the world out there can help you to solve the problem, and how would you be able to scale the solution? Next dimension would be viability. Like, what is the value proposition that you're offering? What is the revenue sources that you can tap into? And what are eco-social benefits? Because we're not only looking at profit, as Michael said, we're looking at profit, people, and planet guided by a purpose. And the first iteration, we said we skipped the processes piece because we already described the process for the challenge. The next one, of course, is product or the solution that the team is working on. And here it's about the product and service definition along a value proposition canvas. And you can also, and I think Michael and Benjamin, we did not really get to that point in all the teams. We can do a strength, weakness, opportunity, threats analysis on scalability by reviewing EXO attributes, exponential model, exponential organization attributes from the abundance step beforehand. So that completes the first circle, and that guides also the teams to the result video. Now, what we found out is having stakeholders with a firm interest in innovation is the most promising setup to evolve the initial ideas from such a design challenge into impactful initiatives. And what you see here is the innovation stakeholders, and you'll find, of course, the startups and innovators who participate in the challenge. We had FOM as a research institution or educational institution involved. Of course, there's businesses. We had a sponsor, a business sponsor involved there. Investors were not present there, but also you would have public authorities who are interested in sparking innovation in their region or in municipality. So for the universities, educational institutions, you can use what has come out of such a design challenge in the further curriculum, and you can really apply Purpose Launchpad in practice and also help students evolve the mindset that is needed for these different stages in Purpose Launchpad, which is about exploration, evaluation, and impact. And that is helping to teach students the skills that are needed for the 21st century, as Michael presented in the first part. And it's also for teachers to have an opportunity to work with people in providing those skills and evolving their own skills. The next part is businesses involved can, of course, run an incubator program to evolve and select the most promising initiatives out of these innovation design challenges. So really starting with a half a day, 1 day workshop prepared by what you find in the book can help businesses really to start their innovation journey, but not doing innovation theater, but really evolving the initiatives further in a stringent program. The next step is for public authorities, and it happens to be that the FOM is located in Düsseldorf, which is the residence of a federal state government, also Northern Rhine-Westphalia. And there's people interested in sparking innovation for the specific commonality or region, and also really getting things implemented for the benefit of their economic situation. And the overall benefit is that collaboration between educational institutions and businesses can create a win-win-win situation for them and the students. So what we had in another context was running a program within university, doing or involving 3 businesses with specific topics they wanted to address as innovations, combining their staff with students in a master program, and creating, through a design challenge, initiatives that then were further evolved over the course of a semester in order to get real results. The benefits for the corporates was they really get solutions. The students got not only points for their master degree, but also got to know potential employers for the future. Of course, business would know future employees. And also the educational institution could position itself as being innovative and applying practical skills for innovation of the 21st century. The nice thing about Purpose Launchpad is that you can evolve and measure progress with this agile framework. And doing a radar would allow you to assess in where and what phase of the evolution a specific initiative is, respective to each of those dimensions. So you have seen the left-hand side, the logo. On the right-hand side, you see the so-called Purpose Launchpad radar, which is a set of questions along with each of those dimensions. And depending on the results of those questions and a combination of those, you will find whether a specific dimension is in exploration, evaluation, or impact phase. Looking at the current radar, you would see that there's quite something available on purpose. There has been some thoughts about customers. The team side and our crowd community people side is not yet very advanced. It's still an exploration because it's in the inner yellow circle. And you would have already a strong product idea, which is already in evaluation. Overall, this initiative is in exploration still, because at least one dimension is in exploration. And the nice thing is, where you find those sort of gaps to the next phase, that is actually where you should be acting upon. Now, does this really work? I'll give a quick example of a startup that I have been mentoring from the very beginning, starting in July 20, I think it was 21 even. And I've mentored them through sprints, which were 3 to 4 weeks. And sort of they took like 5 sprints and 6 sprints actually to get into the evaluation phase, as you can see. And then we further evolved their idea. And with sprint number 11, they applied for public funding in Germany, and they received it. And we've now been working on further developing that initiative. And they are currently launching their MVP. The nice thing about these radars is you can really see the progress, you can see where you should act, but also you could really get could drop down in a specific dimension, which also is a good thing to do, because it's a learning that in this case, for example, you find out that a customer segment is not the one that you should really be focusing on. And that means you don't have to spend resources, money on that specific segment. So it is applied, it's working, and it's great to see the progress by the Purpose Launchpad radar. An innovation factory program or an accelerator incubator for a company could look like a 3-phase approach: a prepare, plan, spark, align, execute, and follow-up phase. In the execution phase of such an incubator, 8 to 12 weeks program, up to 20 teams, which some of our colleagues in Exponential Ecosystem have done already. You would explore the ideas, evaluate the approaches. You would do a concept presentation, sort of midterm, and then prototype and pitch and launch. And then, and that's the thing about like what's happening after the design challenge or this incubator, you still can follow up with Purpose Launchpad and measure progress. An important thing to understand, and I'm coming to a close here, is that especially for businesses, it's important to create the environment for initiatives to thrive. And Francisco has been developing together with corporations a version of this incubation acceleration program, which he calls Impact Sprint. There's more to come, but this Impact Sprint specifically addresses the challenge that within a big organization, you will find the immune system reacting to innovation. So one thing is to ask the question, is the innovation part of the existing business model, and can it be implemented? Where should it be implemented in the core business? Or is it something which is that disruptive that it really replaces or could replace the existing business model and create a new one? And then you would need to create a different environment, which means maybe a new organization or a new company. The key takeaways in a summary: you can use Purpose Launchpad to evolve design challenge ideas into impactful initiatives. Developing the different mindsets needed for exploration, evaluation, and impact phase is more important than applying tools and processes. And the most promising approach to further evolve design challenge ideas is to have stakeholders with specific interests in innovation. And collaboration between educational institutions and businesses can create a win-win-win situation for themselves and for students. And with that, thank you very much. If you scan this QR code, you go directly to the Amazon page, and you can, if you want, buy a book. And other than that, I hand back to Dietmar to enter the discussion Q&A.
Thank you very much to you, Oliver, Benjamin, and Michael. So, what was in your mind as you heard about the Innovation Design Challenge? Do you have any questions? Any remarks?
Maybe not a general question, because I was there on the 28th, and so now I'm also one of the founder of the exponential ecosystem. So, and I teamed up during that day with Thi Ying, and so okay, that's basically what you could see, because okay, I've done all these things in different areas what Michael was already referring to, but it works quite nicely if you put things under a time pressure, so then you get something out of it, because okay, everybody needed to do a presentation, and I think that's a good thing, because it's for some people out of the comfort zone, and it needs to make a certain level of sense. And basically, okay, that was an idea what I brought with me, and we made it bigger, and we now are carrying it forward also. Is Michael aware, and it's a big thing, and things. So doing things in structure works quite nicely. And if you see what we're doing practically with what we call then innovation and incubation as a service, okay, a radar kind of approach, what Oliver just showed, is quite interesting, because people like that. Then we did one in the 6th of March in Amsterdam, where people see the visualization of something. Because normally people, they do a lot of stuff, and most people can spell the word business model canvas, but they don't know really how it works. That's also what I experience a lot. So it's good to push that forward, and there are different programs where you can run of it. You can do the one-day thing, but you need to prepare it very well. Okay, my grand vision is also that we start to do more of these things, and then we have every time we have a spin-off and a little glossy magazine, what I call this book also, because that's good to create a community. So I think these things are very worthwhile. One point regarding the 21st century skills. It's one of my personal hobbies also to do in that area. And I think that we also should include the inner development goals, because I'm a big fan of them. Not that I'm a fan of them, that they're only very much scientifically backed up. And basically they create the mindset on a humanity level where people then are more happy to get to the SDGs, so to speak of. So the IDGs and the SDGs, and so we need to make sure that we include them, because there are quite nice programs, and there are proven interventions that they work. So we certainly should not only these skills already mentioned, but also include that in program. But that's basically one of the things there, what I've seen happening and what we're working on quite heavily today, to create that community and be very open-minded. And then the framework we use, and there is always room for a new kid on the block, as long as it makes sense and as it is very practical. And that's also what I like what Francisco did. Okay, most of us have been part of the exponential organization stuff, but that's only a limited approach. I would say it's only an organization design kind of concept, and the combination of all these things and the visualization is great. So that's certainly what I want to share today for this session also.
Thank you very much, Gerard. So, Michael,
I was just about to say, if Michael Roos doesn't have anything to say, I'd be very surprised.
Oh, well, I thought it was such a great job.
That's positive, Michael. That's not a negative comment.
No, I didn't hear you yesterday when you were making jokes. I really didn't. It's such a great job. I mean, there was such a lot to boil. I mean, you guys did a fantastic job at bringing it all together and making it addressable. And I think that's the key. I mean, you had the setup, the preparation, the way you ran the session. I was hoping to come and scribe or participate. That wasn't possible. So I missed the live currywurst, which was disappointing, of course. But no, I love the way that you went around. I was curious to sit in to see what your process was and what you developed. And I think it's fantastic. Of course, as fit for purpose, we say that the use of Posse is not really very useful, and we have some ways to dovetail into it. And I look forward to an opportunity to seeing how we connect. We think slightly differently. We are incorporating abundance and sustainability into the definition of the solution or the design of the solution. Sometimes to use that to leverage on all of the great Purpose Launchpad Framework We definitely agree. Problem definition is something that most teams don't do well. And taking that in a structured way means that teams don't run into the wall too quickly. And if they do, they certainly don't run into the wall because there was no need. And so that is a real fundamental, framing the problem in a useful and structured way as the starting point for an exploration of solution spaces is definitely a better productive way to go. So great work, really love it, and look forward to more.
Thank you. And coming back to the book, of course, everybody can read the book, use the checklist, and go on his own. Of course, we're also happy to support people who want to go that path and help organize such design challenges as exponential ecosystem, involving speakers like Michael Friebe, like Benjamin. That is all opportunities that we have, that you have. I put into the chat the link to Purpose Launchpad because that's a evolving framework, and also the link to our exponential ecosystem web page, which is, well, still under construction, and there will be changes being made to this page. Exponential ecosystem is not only the global network of professionals to make a massive positive impact. The purpose that we have is to create an abundance of triple positively impactful innovations, not only in healthcare, but also many other dimensions. And there was another URL for the book question. I can post one in the chat. I can also call up once more the QR code, which is easier maybe. The QR code for the book is now in the chat. And I'm also happy to share once more the QR code. You can see that.
Maybe also, Oliver, it's good to share also that we are planning to have follow-up PR regarding the book.
Sure.
And that it probably will end up to a digital incubator accelerator program in this area, and a live one, because that's in the planning, and that will soon to be announced the coming weeks. So for everybody who's interested, just reach out. And if you also are more than happy also if you want to play an active role in that.
Mm-hmm. You will receive a follow-up mail with the link to the recording of the session to review and maybe watch and share. That will probably get out tomorrow. You will also receive a follow-up email just at 1900, thanking you for your participation and providing my contact address in case you have further questions.
We're right on the spot here. 7 o'clock.
Great job, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Any other questions now?
Inspiring stuff.
Good. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Wish everybody a great week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.
See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.